us closer to mortals.
Do we know that?
What does your heart tell you?
Come, master. Come to speak.
It is time. The groundless again shall be king.
Become who you are born to be.
I see in your eyes the same fear that would take the heart of me. A day may come when the courage of men fails. When we forsake our friends and break all bonds of fellowship. But it is not this day.
Whatever happens, stay with me.
This day we fight!
All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us.
They will follow you into battle. You have given us hope.
There is nothing for you here. Only death.
We cannot achieve victory through strength of arms.
Not for ourselves, but we can give Frodo his chance.
Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back.
Yes, indeed.
This movie, or these movies, we should say.
Yes, indeed. This is, I love these.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad we got to this.
Yeah.
I didn't think we ever would, but here we are. This is going to be a fun one, everybody. All you listeners out there, my name is Pete.
And I'm Scott, and these are the movies that made us gay.
Yes.
You get just us today.
Yeah,
no
just
guest.
us. No guest. Yay.
We've had a lot of fun guests on the show. We will be having some great returning guests, some new guests.
Yeah.
But yeah,
absolutely.
Just us today discussing The Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, released December 17th, 2003, directed by Peter Jackson. And of course, written by Fran Walsh, Peter Jackson, and Philippa Boyens.
Yes, indeed.
You got to mention those two.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these scripts, like,
integral to the success of these movies.
Yeah, for sure. We had to get to this movie, and it had to be Return of the King. Because it's the culmination of the series.
Sure.
But second, just because it's like, I mean, let's be real. They get gay Hobbit married on that mountain.
We'll get into
at the
it.
End of this movie.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like Merry and Pippin are pretty much just in a domestic partnership all throughout.
Yes. Although towards the end of this movie, Pippin does tell Merry, much like Chunk to Sloth, you're coming home to live with me now. I'm going to take care of you. As if Merry's been like maimed or disfigured. We'll get to that. But yeah, there's a lot of Hobbit love. There's a lot of man Hobbit love in this movie.
I mean, a tale of male friendships in the company of men, pretty much like an adult male video.
An adult male video. A man-on-man adult video?
Yes.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was trying to make a joke there.
Got it. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. I mean, if it just on paper, yes, that's what it reads like. I mean, forget the fact that it was, written at a time where women were best seen and not heard. Mm-hmm. And the fact that there are
no black people in this movie.
Three ladies in all three of the movies. Yep. People, I mean, granted, this opens up a whole new can of worms. And I think about this every time I watch Lord of the Rings, which is often. This thing of just like, if you're not super familiar with the source material, and you come to Lord of the Rings because, it's the biggest
movie of all time.
We got to watch the Lord of the Rings. Are you just like, what in the hell is this? Mm-hmm. Because I don't know. It's not like,
I mean, that was pretty much the podcast newcomers. That was Lauren and Nicole's reaction to all of these movies.
Yeah. Because it's not like fairy tales. It's not like, it's like Cinderella.
And it's weird
like,
because it's not
King
set on
Arthur.
Earth, but if you ask like pure Tolkien like scholars, they'll say, well, technically.
Well, it's Middle Earth. It is.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is. I don't think it's not like another planet. It's not like Game of Thrones, which really is not on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
I think theoretically, when you get down to brass tacks, it's the whole thing of Middle Earth. It's like this prehistory or this middle history that was lost and all of that. But it is a Europe
An allegory.
Of fiction.
Isn't that what they call like
allegory?
An allegory.
Yes,
an allegory for World War One.
I feel like Professor Tolkien would have a lot to say about that as well. I think that he very much...
would she take issue of that?
Yes, I think Professor Tolkien would very much not agree that it is an allegory for his experiences in World War One, nor is it an allegory for the coming, of World War Two.
It's what my stepdad always told me when I was a kid.
Yeah, and it's very easy to draw those conclusions. I mean, it probably is the truth, but I think he just didn't want to be like, no, it's not that easy. I made it. This all came from my whimsy and my.
He's like.
My fantasy.
I know that World War II just happened, but it's not that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he just thought it was, or tried to tell people that it was a little bit more than that. That's not what we're here to discuss anyway. No. But, suffice it to say that I have a long history with Middle Earth.
Mm-hmm.
I was given the books by my stepfather when I was in high school, and he said, read these.
Mm-hmm.
Read them all.
Do you still have your old paperbacks?
They fell apart. I think I have a couple of them because they were Jim's. They were my stepdad's paperbacks from...
when he was a young man.
From the 70s, when he was in high school. And those are the ones that I read when I was in high school, and they kind of fell apart. I also remember, as a very young child, having my younger brother being a baby and my mom getting movies for us and saying, watch this because I've got to take care of your brother. And I need you to shut up. And stay out of my hair for a while, so watch this movie. And I specifically remember her putting on The Hobbit.
Oh, the Rankin Bass Hobbit.
Rankin Bass Hobbit. And my sister and I just being like, what is this? Like, because even as kids, I think we just had this thing where we're like, oh, well, Snow White is Snow White. Mm-hmm. Sleeping Beauty is Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah.
What is The Hobbit? Like, we were just like, what is this?
So I always have a bit of a chip on my shoulder about a book like The Hobbit, and I think that it comes from when I was in grade school and I was surrounded by a lot of smart kids, like really, really smart kids. And while I was reading probably like Beverly Cleary or like Hank the Cowdog,
right,
they were reading books like The Hobbit. And I always knew that's a smart kid book. I don't think I can handle that.
They didn't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Beverly Cleary is not for the faint of heart either. There's, those are decent chapter books.
Yeah,
it's like 200 pages.
Guess actually, maybe I wasn't reading like Beverly Cleary. It would be more like Goosebumps.
Still, Goosebumps aren't, still. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
The Hobbit was released in the 30s, the 40s, the 30s, late 30s, early 40s. When The Hobbit was released, it was classified as
a children's book. Yes.
That is a crazy ass show. As an adult, it is like quite the undertaking to read The Hobbit.
I mean, I loved me some Chronicles of Narnia, just the first book.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I remember my mom putting on the animated Hobbit and just being like, this is wild. What is this? The animation style looks so different. It just looked completely unlike anything Disney. This is right about the time my brother's born in 86 is right about the time that, Land Before Time and all of that are starting to come out. So we're getting competing animation studios. We had seen The Secret of Nim.
Yeah,
we had even seen The Last Unicorn because for a minute
Don
there,
Bluth stuff.
We had HBO and we saw The Last Unicorn and we thought that was insane. We were like, this is animation, but it's like not for kids, and then seeing The Hobbit, we were just like, this is crazy.
Now, didn't we look up the Rankin Bass Hobbit and then it aired like the day after you were born?
It aired Yeah, it aired very shortly after I was born. Yes, or before. It aired Thanksgiving, 1977.
Not to date you on the podcast,
And I was
or anything.
born a Saturday after Thanksgiving, 1977.
That's cool, though.
Yes. So it first aired on television. It was a TV movie. And then, when my stepfather gave me the books, I was just like, okay. Read them. I didn't finish them in high school. I read them. And then the movie series came around, and I was just like, how are they going to do this? I don't understand. There's no way. My stepfather also had a big hardback book of the making of the Rankin Bass Hobbit.
Oh, wow.
And he also has...
Damn, is that...
It's probably in the closet
Is that
at
in, like,
Melinda's house.
Jim and Melinda's garage or something?
Probably, yeah. I love that book.
You have to track that shit down.
And he also had a book of illustrations by the brothers Hildebrandt, who were very 70s, almost like Frank Frazetta, kind of like... They did a lot of, like, sword and sorcery, like... Pulp Fiction novel covers.
Sure.
They did like calendars, big titty ladies, and they did a lot of Tolkien art in the 70s. It's very 70s blacklight poster-ish, and he had a big book of their stuff, and I was fascinated by that. And I think it was all of their Tolkien stuff in like a bound book or a calendar or something that he had. And I was very fascinated by that. And, the movies come out, and it reignited my kind of interest in it. And then when I reread the books right before the movies came out, that's when I was like, okay, there's a lot of really interesting stuff here.
You're getting invested.
Yeah. And the stuff with, with the friendships between these men, the menfolk in these books and how they kind of treat each. And it's that thing that, we all have these like Instagram pages that we follow, Instagram accounts that we follow, that'll just give like weird pictures without any context,
Like gays in history.
Yeah. And
I know exactly what you're going for. Yeah.
And they'll have like two dudes like holding hands or like their arms around each other, and they're like, "Oh, they were in love, but it was a secret." It's like they were just in the military. Like that's kind of how the military was.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it's kind. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like Tolkien drawing on his time in World War I and just sort of the close companionships with men in times of war.
Yeah.
Getting close to a soldier sort of helped you from going crazy on the battlefield.
Absolutely.
And you just sort of had to form these very tight bonds
very
with these
bonds, yes.
I mean, World War I and World War II, like pretty much children going to war.
Yeah.
Most of them had probably lied about their age.
Yeah.
16, 17 years old. And they just became very, very close with one another.
Yeah. In World War II, there was a whole like buddy system that the U.S. military kind of like instilled in the army of them to like buddy up and like to look out for each other and all that. And they just, so that's a whole other episode. But it is, I mean, it's very fascinating.
We have a great coffee table book on that called My Buddy.
Absolutely. It's just a very fascinating read on male like friendship and male platonic love, male intimacy.
Also, probably
very interesting.
Tolkien, when he was a young man, probably spent his fair share of time in British boarding schools that were probably all male. So I think probably just became very close with a lot of his classmates.
Well, I think also higher education at the time was probably still, going to. I think they all went to Oxford. Him and C.S. Lewis and all of them. I'm pretty sure it was Oxford, where they all. I don't think it was Cambridge, where they all went to college and they became chummy, and they had their like little like reading book club society where they met at the like the Stuck Pig or the Bleeding Ox or whatever bar. It was the Eagle and Child. Oh, I remember. It was the Eagle and Child. Nerd alert. Yeah, sorry.
Well, do you want to hear a little bit about my introduction to this property?
Yes, please.
So,
tell me.
I mean, I definitely remember stumbling onto the Rankin Bass Hobbit on the Disney Channel. But as a kid, there was
showed it on the Disney Channel?
They showed it on the Disney Channel.
Cute, love it.
And there was something about how they marketed it, and when I would sort of dip in and out of it, it was just a little too weird for 8-year-old Scott. This really isn't for me. I mean, it's a movie now that I'll fucking watch it right now.
Yes,
like I love the Rankin Bass.
Yeah.
Animated Hobbit.
That like
it's
hippy dippy like
cool.
score. Like it's like it's not like Harry Nilsson, but it's like some, maybe it is Harry Nilsson, as a matter of fact. Yeah, it's just a super hippie score. I love it.
And also, sort of my relationship with The Hobbit was, that's a smart kid book.
Right.
I can't read that.
Yeah.
Just because I'm not that strong of a reader. And I feel like it took me until high school to figure out, like, no, I can read this book.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to develop a complex about children's literature.
It's not War and Peace.
Mm-hmm. But I remember when these movies were announced that I think that I sort of just knew Lord of the Rings. Like, I think I had just heard of it, but I wasn't super familiar with it.
Right.
And I remember my stepbrother coming home from college from University of Montana, and we were just talking about movies, and he's like, wow, I'm really excited for the Lord of the Rings movies. They just finished shooting them.
Yeah.
And I think at that time it was early 2001 or late 2000, and they were going to be out December of 2001. And he's just like, I can't wait for these movies. And they cast Elijah Wood as the Hobbit.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear how see how they're going to do that.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of did a little more research, asked my stepdad about the books because my stepdad is super smart and very well read.
Oh, sure. Don's going to know.
Don's going to know all
everything
about Tolkien.
he needs to know about.
I mean, read them in the 60s.
Yeah.
When he was like going to school at Berkeley or something. And he was like, yeah, you should read them. They're really good. So my mom for Christmas got me a leather-bound set of all of them.
Yeah.
So I got the whole thing in one go. Like teeny print.
Is it one big giant book?
It's one giant book.
Okay.
I'll have to go when I'm back in Montana next time. I'll have to go in my old room to see if they're
Is it one of the ones
on the bookshelf
from the movie, like the tie-in, like mine is?
No.
Oh, okay.
They were like a nice set.
Okay.
I mean, it was probably like a $50 book because it's like a nice leather-bound edition.
Okay.
And I read them all throughout 2001. I remember taking the book to Alaska with me. When my dad and I drove through Canada and took the ferry from Prince Rupert to Prince of Wales Island, and I read most of Fellowship on that trip. And just sort of, I worked through the books. It took me a while.
Takes a minute.
Like, it took me a hot minute to get through those
Fellowship
books.
in particular takes a long time to get through.
And I want to say, when the movie came out in December of 2001, I had just finished or was going to finish Fellowship. Like, it took me that long from like July to December to finish the whole book.
Listeners, if you have not read them, it's each book. It's not like Game of Thrones. They're not 800-page books. They're not that long. But the thing about the Fellowship of the Ring is that it's written in a completely different style as the other two.
It's the most laborious to read of all of the books.
The exposition at the beginning is crazy. It feels very different than the rest.
I mean, it's one thing that I have to really tip my hat at Peter Jackson and his writers is that they really condense Fellowship in particular to make it very digestible and make it have a little bit more urgency than it does on the page.
Totally.
And I know that some purists will read me to filth, but I think it's true, though.
You can't film the Fellowship of the Ring.
There's a reason why Tom Bombadil was cut.
Yes.
Is that it steps
it's too much.
It stops the book dead in its tracks.
Totally.
And then I kind of worked through the books from kind of my junior to senior year. And these movies came out when I was a sophomore, junior, senior. So all of these movies chronicle when I went to high school. Right. And I think that's what's so cool about revisiting them is because I remember talking about them with friends.
It's a huge deal. We were just talking about when
huge deal.
At the end of Fellowship, I walked out of the movie, not Fellowship, at the end of Return of the King, I walked out of the movie with Damien and Laurie, and I was just like, what the hell am I going to do next year? Like, it's done? It's over?
I remember when I first saw
no more?
Fellowship, I remember I was so jealous of other classmates that got to skip school and drive to, Billings or Great Falls with their parents.
To skip school, or did they ditch?
But, I mean, I think that they got a pass. I mean, their parents took them out of school essentially to go on a shopping trip to the big city and go to the movie.
Oh my God.
And I remember being so fucking jealous.
I mean, that's crazy.
And
I probably got to have McDonald's.
Yeah. And I remember my grandma bought me a making of book. I still have it.
It's right there.
It's right there.
I think it's right there.
my grandma bought me a making
Oh,
of
no, it's in
book
there.
of Fellowship of the Ring on Christmas. Because also, by the way, for Christmas, I got like exclusively Lord of the Rings shit.
Nice.
When I was in high school.
Love it.
To get me like stoked for the movie.
Yeah.
I remember she got me a book on the making of the movie, and I still had not seen it.
Nice.
And I think I read it from cover to cover
Yeah.
without having seen Fellowship. I read the book, so I knew it wasn't any spoilers.
Right.
And then we ended up going on a shopping trip during winter break to Billings, and my mom and my sister just dropped me off.
Go to this movie.
I just went to it by myself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's not a mom and sister kind of movie. I mean, yeah, it's crazy. They're
not really boy movies because I know plenty of girls that love these movies.
I was going to say there's a lot of, Lord of the Rings has a lot of female fans, but it is one of those things, much like, Star Wars, they don't quite pass the Bechtel test.
Mm-hmm. I mean, especially a series like these three movies.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do have to give them credit. Like, they did try.
Yeah.
Of when they could. Of we have to work in Kate Blanchett and Liv Tyler any moment that we have a little space in the script.
They squeezed a lot out of those two characters.
They're in all three of those damn movies.
Yeah. Even when they were not present at all in the books, but they had to get a love story in there, shoehorn it in somehow.
And the other thing, kind of in relation to our show, Movies That Made Us Gay, I remember just seeing all of the images of these menses.
Oh my goodness gracious.
I mean, Viggo Mortensen, I feel like I was familiar with from, I think, like A Walk on the Moon.
Sure.
Where he has like a love scene with Diane Lane.
Sure.
And I think that he's in A Perfect Murder.
Right.
With Gwyneth.
Right.
So I was familiar with him, super dreamy, and I mean, I don't think we've ever actually talked about Orlando Bloom on the podcast.
Probably
but
not.
I feel like Orlando Bloom was every teenage boy's gay type.
Orlando Bloom was definitely,
and you're just like, who
sexual
is this?
awakening?
Like, who is this beautiful
wig
man that they found in this beautiful blonde wig?
This wig and these tights.
Can't clock a lace front on that wig when you watch Return of the King.
No,
and you get those beautiful like close-ups of his eyes too.
It was one of those things that we all walked out of that movie and we're like, who was that guy? And this is 2001,
the early aughts. Yep,
2001. We don't have IMDb.
You can't like track down his Instagram.
No, none of that shit.
And you remember being shocked when you found out that he had brown curly hair.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, take off that Link wig, and he just says short brown hair, and it's just like, all right,
and
brown eyes.
Legolas was a character that I feel like I still had like Christmas Elf in my mind when reading the books when I was young, that I kept going for like Santa's little helper.
Right.
But I mean,
or the Happy Little Elves.
Like Happy Little Elves from The Simpsons. And I don't think I was envisioning a man that beautiful being Legolas.
Well, to me, I remember seeing the poster for The Fellowship the very first time I saw the poster at the movie theater, and it was the two statues, the Watchers with their hands out, and the realm of Gondor.
And I feel like
teeny
and I feel like when I saw that poster, I'm just like, I don't remember that part from the book.
Yeah, and a little boat at the bottom, and I'm just like, what is this?
Maybe
Lord of the Rings.
Maybe I just wasn't reading closely.
Yeah, and I'm like, how are they going to do that? And then I look at the poster, I go, Elijah Wood.
Yeah.
Sean Astin? What the hell? And then I start thinking about the Rankin Bass animated Hobbit.
Because they're pretty much animated like
they're like
little people.
Not even that different. They're like the purport. They're just like a little round, like, they don't look like scaled down average size people, right? And I'm thinking they're not. I don't know. They're not going to do little people like Willow, So I'm wondering, how are they going to do this? Then things start coming out. I remember on KTLA here, there was a lead up to the premiere. There was a big Entertainment Tonight all about Lord of the Rings.
I remember when the trailer dropped on Entertainment Tonight.
Yeah, and I was just like, holy cow. This is going to be insane. How are they going to do this with the scale and the size and all that stuff? But yeah, I mean, even Elijah Wood was like so cute.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, okay, all right. Sean Astin, I'm here to tell you.
Very outside of the box casting that I think that Peter Jackson probably really had to go to bat for him.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But he had worked with John Astin in The Frighteners. Mm-hmm. So that could have very well been a connection there. A lot of people were thinking that Michael J. Fox was going to be in here somewhere.
And I
because
think that
the Frighteners
he's even
connection.
said, like, on the books that when they were first conceiving it, that was the idea, and then medical stuff that wasn't going to work out.
I mean, when you really get down to it, Michael J. Fox in the early 2000s, definitely closer in age to Frodo Baggins in the books.
You would have to completely cast all of the other Hobbits differently,
age
too.
Them up. Yeah. Ever since I was 7 years old and saw the Goonies in the theater, I've been in love with Sean Astin.
Oh, we were just watching it last night, too.
Yeah. Yeah. Ever since I was 7 years old, I loved Mikey Walsh. I've loved Sean Astin ever since then. And I was so happy that he was in this.
I think I was more into Mikey's brother.
Brand. I mean,
Brand.
Josh Brolin, get out of here. What are you going to... Yeah.
Brand is all of our types.
Yeah, he's everybody's type. But to me, it's just all about Mikey all the way. And then, you know, Elijah, just super cute. But he was still like this kid actor. Then I go and I see the movies, and I get introduced to one Mr. Dominic Monaghan.
Yeah.
Who-
Dominic Monaghan has always been your type.
I had...
You were a Charlie
just
fan from
the
Lost.
Biggest, hugest thing for Dom Monaghan for years. Oh, man. And pre-social media, pre-Instagram, pre-all that stuff. So it's just Google image searches, things like that, you know. It wasn't so easy back then to find out who these people were. But it launched a lot of careers. And
I mean, they got Liv Tyler at a really good time of her career because she would have been cast following Armageddon.
Yeah.
And everybody remembers that, like, her in Armageddon.
Yeah.
Of that, like, Steven Tyler's daughter is the romantic love interest of Ben Affleck in the Asteroid movie. So big hit for her. I remember being very invested of Cate Blanchett's climb to the A-list in 2001 too.
Right.
Because she made like 5 movies and it was all building up.
A lot of movies.
It was all building up to Fellowship.
Yeah.
And I remember just like being floored by when I first saw that character in the teaser.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, she is as Galadriel in the Fellowship. She is like stunning, gorgeous, beautiful. She is the moment.
All the Lothlorien scenes are my favorite in Fellowship too.
Well, I mean, we got a comment from our Instagram follower, Castle Gay Skull. Shout out Castle Gay Skull. We love your work. The gayest part of the trilogy has always been, you have entered the realm of the Lady of the Wood. And then the elven go-go boys descend from the trees to dance worship Cate Blanchett.
Work.
Yeah, I mean, that scene is... I would live there.
Oh, fuck yeah. Living up in a tree.
I would live in Lothlorien in the trees with the elf boys. All the elves with these
walking around barefoot with Galadriel.
With your laid wig. I mean, come on.
I mean, if you want to talk about laid wig, I mean, Saruman. Just looking like fucking Cher's Believe up in here.
Christopher Lee is working this wig. He's got hairography. I mean, shit. The thing is, you know, when you get down to it, I remember at the time just being with friends going like, if we lived in Middle Earth, like
where would you live and why?
What race would you be? And I'm like, I would just be a hobbit. I mean, I enjoy multiple meals per day, digging in the dirt and wearing loose clothing.
I've always fancied myself an elf, but from where Legolas is from, the Mirkwood elves.
The Mirkwood elves.
They're a little saltier.
The Greenwood. Sure, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I like that. Yeah, I think I just be a hobbit. I like going around barefoot all the time.
I grew up
drinking beer.
I also grew up shooting a bow.
There you go. Yeah. I don't care for boats. So, you know, I think, yeah, Hobbit life for me. Second breakfast all the way. I've got curly hair. So, I mean, I would have loved to have lived among the elves. I would have been as fascinated with elves as Samwise. But yeah, I mean, those first movies were just like kind of game changer for like blockbusters at the time.
And it was really fun of when Fellowship ended that, I mean, you didn't know what those other 2 movies were going to look like.
Yeah.
Like I remember I had just started the Two Towers, so I was like, I'm like, oh my god, like how are they going to do the spider scene? Is it going to be in the next movie?
Yeah.
And you just had to wait.
Yeah.
Like there wouldn't. I mean, I feel like now there's so much production.
There was only a year in between, though.
Yeah.
In between the movies, because Peter Jackson, genius, he did what a lot of directors don't do, is that, I mean, he got it right. What like almost put Bob Zemeckis in an early grave was he just shot everything, shot it all, had all the footage in the can, and then went in and started doing the post on the first movie, finished it, released it.
Yeah.
Then went in and started doing the post on the second movie, finished it, released it.
And
I mean,
and
barring the pickup shots.
And
all
then
that
like
stuff.
the Wachowskis did the same thing when they did the 2 Matrix sequels.
Exactly, yeah. And those were released even closer together.
Yeah.
But the Lord of the Rings that we had a year in between, were they always released in the holidays?
Always
Christmas?
in December.
Always in December. Yeah.
Always around either the 17th or the 19th of December.
And then we had our theatrical release DVDs, which I bought.
Same.
And the
I remember
special edition
my grandma dropping me off at our local Albertsons, and I bought the DVD
for Fellowship.
for Fellowship. Yeah.
And then our the Fellowship, or the DVD extended edition.
Oh my gosh! And us being like media heads, I got those movies every year for Christmas. I knew that my grandma was
too.
going to get them for me for Christmas.
I got them every year for Christmas. Yeah, I bought myself the theatrical, knowing that Santa,
I mean, these fucking movies.
Santa was
we
gonna
have
get me the
so
extended.
many fucking copies of this movie. The only thing I'm shocked we do not have
Is a VHS.
Is a VHS of all of them.
I didn't bother at the time. I was just like, oh, why? My DVD player is superior.
I mean, I need to just pick it up when we go to Out of the Closet.
My
or
DVD
Amoeba or
player is
something.
superior. I'll never watch this on VHS.
But then, like, we have all of the DVDs.
We talk about the golden age of the special edition
Oh,
DVD.
yeah.
This is the culmination. This is
This is like the holy grail of like
the
bonus
Library
materials.
of Alexandria. This is the Goliath of Rhodes of the DVD special edition. This is
I mean, Peter knows what the people want.
shit. They chronicled every damn minute of the making of these movies, and they included it. And you know what? I watched it all.
Oh, all of it.
Listen to every commentary
I mean,
of these 3-hour-plus movies.
we're such dorks that we've seen all of the bonus content for the Hobbit movies.
Yeah.
And I know that the Hobbit movies are generally not very liked,
Yeah.
but we still kind of ride for them.
Yeah. Yeah, they're fun. We're going back to Middle Earth. But yeah, so these movies, they gave us all that. So it was like everything that we wanted to. I think we were like the right age at the time for it to come out and just consume all this media and just be obsessed with it. And these movies are just a little bit more hopeful than something like Game of Thrones.
And you know, what's kind of interesting, I was thinking today, I mean, I don't have any like eloquent, like eloquent words for this. I don't have any
Can't even say it.
elegant words for what I'm saying, but I think a lot of the just the grand reception of these movies with the public, I think sort of has to do with the world after something like 9/11.
Yeah.
Of just sort of wanting to go to a movie about good versus evil.
Yeah.
And just seeing all of those themes on screen.
Yeah.
It was just sort of cathartic for everyone at that moment.
Yeah.
And especially movies that everybody was talking about at the time.
Yeah, I think so. And I think for a property that can have such a what the fuck factor to it, to somebody who's not familiar with the books, or you're just going in saying it's fantasy, whatever, it's fantasy. There's wizards and there's tiny people. You know,
There's elves.
There's talk about a dragon somewhere. You know, there's elves,
Giant trees.
walk in the snow, talking trees, all that stuff. I think, like you said about the writing, it's kind of delivered to you.
It
in
makes
a way
it very accessible.
that's a little bit more palatable. Than
It was something that I think that Denis, when he made Dune, was very successful with too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So obviously we are fans.
So, I mean, I feel like we've been talking a lot about Fellowship because Fellowship is probably my personal
That's your gateway.
favorite.
That's your gateway.
It's the gateway.
Yeah,
I think it's the most fun of the three movies. It's the most episodic. You get like all of the big set pieces in it. You get Rivendell. You get Lothlorien. You get Moria. You get like the big ending fight sequence. I do not revisit Return of the King as much, and that is the episode, and that is the movie that we are covering today.
Well, the last half of Return of the King is very melancholy. Mm-hmm. You know, it's deals with loss and you know, and endings and all of that, new beginnings and things, and so it's kind of sad. It's kind of a downer when you watch the last part. There's a lot of crying the last few minutes of the movie from the characters and maybe me. But so yeah, it's you know, it's not as like, you know, let's just put something on. But there's some great action scenes in this movie. Some really good action stuff in this movie. But you know, like we said, and another friend of ours posted on our Instagram, on our sneak peek Instagram, our friend Janelle, that their love went deeper than any love story there ever was.
It's very true.
Frodo and Sam on the side of this mountain, bitch.
Oh yeah,
these two, I love it. I can't so good, the two of them together.
He'll gladly carry Frodo's load any day.
Oh, share the load.
So what are your memories of Return of the King in particular when it came out? Do you remember like where you were when you saw it? Who you were with?
I feel like we saw it somewhere in Orange County because I know I saw it with Damien and Lori, my friends.
Shout out to Damien and Lori.
And I'm pretty sure it was in Orange County. I think it was the same theater that we saw Brokeback Mountain. Yeah, I just remember having this feeling afterwards, and I felt the same way when I finished reading the books. When it's over, you're just like, well, that's it.
And then you pick up the Silmarillion, and you're like,
nope,
nope,
I'm okay. You know, I finished it, and I get this feeling of just like, I'm glad I read it, and I'm so happy that I just got to the end of this journey with my friends, and there's no more of it. And I just had this feeling of, like you said, every year for Christmas we got that special edition. You know, we knew that every year for Christmas we're getting the new movie. 3 years of our lives we had this story and these people and these characters. And it ended in such a way that was like, I thought, well done. You know, it turned into one of those things. And I feel like the endings of things, sometimes if they're really, really good, if it doesn't end in the exact perfect way that people want, then this movie has, the endings of this movie has been memed to death. But if Instagram and Twitter were around in 2004, 2003, Twitter was probably around.
No. It was not.
They would have been memed to death because the endings were multiple. But still, I just had that feeling of like, that was so good and I'm so sad.
Were you like those people after they walked out of Avatar, they got all depressed? That they could never live in the world of the Na'vi?
You know, I didn't want to live in Middle Earth because I didn't want to have to, you know, fight.
Yeah,
it would be
nice to have running water and electricity.
Toilets. I like toilets. You know, I like a hot shower. I mean, I know they have like bars. They've got taverns and things like that. But, you know, some of the necessities of home. They don't have iPhones. But yeah, I definitely had. I think that was the biggest thing that stuck out for me was just that feeling of like, oh,
I mean, definitely not something that you experience with Marvel movies now, because that is a dragon that is eating its own tail. Of that, there are always Marvel movies coming out. And
but
you never get a final.
But Endgame definitely felt like an ending because it was those characters.
I guess.
Now we're branching off into like different characters, but it's like these guys we're done with. But I know what you're saying. It's still, we got TV series and all that stuff.
So I remember when Return of the King came out, our entire high school went to the midnight premiere of
Yeah.
this movie at the Judith at a time where it was a big deal that they got this movie opening day.
Yeah.
That all of us on Thursday night knew that we had to get up for school at 7 a.m. We didn't fucking care. We all went to go see Return of the King at midnight.
Uh-huh.
And I want to say, like, teachers were there. I think that my friend Dan, who was, like, vice president at the time, like, announced it on the morning announcements that we're all going to the movie. I'm not joking.
Yeah,
like,
they can't stop you from going to the movie
like
on your spare
the
time.
entire school
Yeah.
went to the midnight premiere. Did they even do that for Marvel movies, do you think? No. You go to, like, Thursday night at, like, 7 p.m.
Yeah. That's cool, though. Mm-hmm. How many seats is in this auditorium?
Judith is pretty big.
Your whole school, though?
I mean, maybe I'm exaggerating.
Well, your entire school did fit into one classroom, so...
Mm-hmm. Just like a little house neighbor.
Your vice president was a pig. Vice principal. Just like in St. Olaf. So, it was a huge deal. The entire 3 movies were a huge deal, and this was a big thing for it to end. This was the one that got all the Academy Awards.
It was nominated and won all of its Oscars. It was nominated for 11. And it won all of them. The only major category it was not nominated for was cinematography. And it didn't get any acting nominations. They only just got the Ian McKellen nomination.
For Fellowship.
For Fellowship, yep.
It wasn't nominated for cinematography?
It was not nominated for cinematography.
Oh.
It was iced out.
Wow.
And do you know who the winner was? It was
I
Master
don't.
and Commander, Far Side of the World.
Never saw it.
I don't know how they managed to miss that nomination.
Yeah, that's very interesting. That cinematographer has since passed away.
Andrew Lesney. Yeah,
yes, he did.
remember he did the new Planet of the Apes movie.
Okay. It was one of those things where it's like they hadn't really gotten a bunch of awards for the other movies that were nominated, but this one was the one that they were just.
It got some, but they were holding the big ones for the third movie.
Yeah, best director, adapted screenplay. I'm sure.
Yeah,
best picture, all of that. No acting nominations. I know Sean lobbied pretty hard for supporting nomination.
Should have made it in.
Did not get it. Should have made it in. Saw some for consideration ads in the trades. You know, the showbiz trades. But he didn't get it in there. But I mean, he's really in this movie, I feel like, the most of the 3.
He is the emotional, like, heart of the movie.
Yeah. And of the 3 movies, I feel he gets the most to do in this one.
I always find myself wanting to go back to the Hobbits in this movie too. I know that, like, you always feel that for Two Towers, but for me in particular, I always want to go back to both of them.
Yeah. Their story is very, like, I mean, it's like the real story. That's what we're there.
They're on the ass end's tail of their journey.
Yeah, and they've got, like, Gollum following them around. Oh, all that stuff with Gollum, like climbing up that hill, climbing up
those steps. When we revisit it, that, like, I see them crawling up those steps, and I'm just like, oh hell no,
no ma'am,
I'm not sleeping on the side of this fucking
I'm
brick
not
wall.
No damn Bear Grylls ass. Yeah, no. It is a wall, first of all. It is not a staircase.
What are they looking down? What are the gates called?
Minas Morgul.
It's where the Witch King lives, right?
Yes. It is the anti-Minas Tirith.
And they are the men that sort of became corrupted by the ring.
Yes.
Right?
They're the human kings. And they each got, I don't remember how many rings the human kings. I think they got 9. 9 to mirror the Fellowship.
Yeah.
I think 9 rings.
How gagged were you during that opening narration by Kate, where she says all of that?
And at the beginning of the Fellowship?
And it opens with, like, a black screen and just Kate's voice.
Yeah.
Like dead.
Yeah. So good. So good. Every choice they made.
If gay
the
Twitter
right
was
choice.
around in 2001 through 2003, like, we would have lost our damn minds over how beautiful and fierce Kate is in this movie.
I mean, how has there not been, like, a voguing Galadriel, like, out at a rave somewhere, just doing death drops with no shoes on. Like, come on. If any drag queens out there, come on, I would love to see a voguing.
I mean, I feel like
voguing Galadriel.
The Lothlorien circuit party is going to be the one that you're going to want to go to.
Elves in booty shorts. I mean, I'm here for it. Why not? They're always wearing tunics, just no pants underneath. They all got that, just braiding each other's hair.
Okay, I know that we're talking about Return of the King, but I remember my best friend and I that were reading the books at the same time. We were obsessed with the line reading of her when she does her "I will become a queen."
A queen!
And we were like looking up the line in the book, like, does she say it exactly like that?
Kind of. She kind of. It's the line, but they just do this thing where it's like, okay, all right, yeah.
It's Team Too Much, and I love it.
Well, we'll watch some French and Saunders versions of this afterwards.
I love in the French and Saunders version.
Compare and contrast.
All of the hobbits are little kids,
like actual children, just crying. Yeah, yeah. Galadriel is absolutely fierce, and I need to see voguing Galadriel versus voguing Hermione in Death Drop, House Down Boots. Not in this movie enough. Galadriel, barely in it. Barely in it. Legolas. Okay, so I love Legolas as a character. I love Orlando Bloom at the time, skinny Orlando Bloom. Go back and watch the Hobbit movies, and it's like 18 years later, and he looks very different.
They kind of give him the Barbara Walter filter.
Yeah, he's Orlando's a little bit more grizzled after all this time has passed. He was a young twink, and he's my age, and he was in his early 20s when he was making these movies. He's like 40 now. It's like, sure, I'll go back and be a fucking elf again. All right.
I mean, still looks great. I've seen those naked paparazzi photos of him.
Yeah. Absolutely. But I think he
on
had
the paddle boat.
Yeah, yes, indeed.
Katy Perry gets to go clap those cheeks at night
every night. I just think that he had who am I thinking of? Not just take this newspaper and blot away that shine. Who was that? She does the chicken impressions. She was the first queen to do tape.
Oh, Miss Fame.
Miss Fame. Thank you.
Yep. Okay.
I think Legolas had Miss Fame doing his makeup in The Hobbit and snatching that face back with those tape tabs.
Joan Crawford style. I can see that.
Absolutely. But in these movies, he's in his early 20s.
I mean, I like to think that like Rivendell has like a spa.
Well,
where they have like full facial and like elf. Like lits.
Here's the thing. I think these elves are immortal, right? I don't think. I know. These elves are immortal. I think that because they are immortal, they just have so much time on their hands that they have these like elaborate hairstyles, very intense, skincare regimes from which the radicals are trying to get free.
Yep.
And so they can have like wonderful skin, beautiful hair. I think eventually, if they never left Middle Earth, they would eventually have like, the helicopter weave, with the working propellers. So they got a lot of time.
I want to go to, I mean, I want to go to, I want to go to like the Mirkwood hair show.
Yeah. It's like, oh, we're going to have dinner next week. Oh, let's start doing my hair now.
I mean, speaking of like the faggiest one of them all, Lee Pace in The Hobbit with a full like crown.
Yeah. I mean, the crown is everything. I would wear that just around the house if I could. The noblecollection.com never released the Lee Pace crown. I can't think of that elf's name.
Do you remember when Ian McKellen accidentally outed him when he was doing press for one of the Hobbit movies?
Bunch of queers on this movie.
I know he's like,
how many fags can I
me,
count?
Luke Evans, and Lee Pace, and I don't think Luke Evans and Lee Pace were officially out.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? It's Ian McKellen. Ian McKellen outs you, you stay out. And they both did. I think Lee Pace is queer, which is fine.
Oh man! And then Luke Evans in The Desolation of Smaug is giving me very like Treasure Island media actor. Ugh.
Yeah. I'm not mad at it. Go watch The Hobbit.
Yep. Better movies than they're given credit for.
Yeah. I mean, there's some real like Treasure Island media looking dwarfs in that. Graham McTavish as Dwalin. I'm looking at you. But we digress.
All right, back to Return of the King.
Yeah.
So what are some of your I mean, we won't even bother to recap Return of the King because there's no point. What are some of your favorite scenes of Return of the King?
I mean, we talked about the boys climbing up
Great scene.
Climbing up that mountain.
And that's really when you're
wall.
starting to see Gollum is really starting to fucking lose it. Like, if you really thought, like, his argument with himself in the Two Towers was too much, like, he is on the verge.
Yeah.
Bringing him up to, like, them both up to Shelob's lair.
Yeah. That stuff with the spider is really cool. Love that scene. I mean, yeah, all the action in front of Minas Tirith is just like an hour long, like war.
The Witch King on that cool.
I mean, the Witch King
is it like a
cool
dragon? I don't know.
They are fell beasts.
Okay, sure.
They are fell beasts, and they are just described in the book as winged fell creatures. And so, in the Rankin Bass Return of the King animated movie, they are just black winged horses. But in this, they decided to make them these crazy, lizardy, dragon, snake things. They look fucking cool.
Yeah. It's pretty badass.
Yeah, they're fucking cool. I mean, I can just nerd out about, so much of the, the miniature work in this movie. The effects are so fun. But, yeah, like you said, as all this is going on, you just kind of want to keep going back to Frodo and Sam. They have their little breakup moment at one point, and it's framed by Gollum, like cracking up the crumbs on Sam. And it's like, he took it, he ate it.
Gollum lives for the drama.
Yes.
Is he the drama?
Oh, is he the drama? I don't think he's the drama. I think he's the drama. And he gets Sam kicked off the island. They break up. Frodo's just like, go home.
I'm pulling your lipstick.
I'm pulling your lipstick, bitch. I'm sending myself home. I already won. And he's like crying his way down the hill, much like
Tobias Funke when he's like crying in the kitchen with the Charlie Brown music.
Yes. Gollum stirring up some shit, breaks up the family. That scene sucks. And he's like crying on his way down the hill, and then he sees like crumpled up cookies.
He's like, that little bitch.
They're little Danish cookies that they got from Mama Galadriel.
in like a little tin.
Yeah, the little blue tin. At this point, it's just filled with sewing supplies because they're out of cookies.
All of the spider scenes are really cool, and you get the I mean, it's a cut scene of the theatrical, but you get Galadriel's gift to Frodo of the beautiful perfume bottle.
Yes, indeed. Yes, the bottle of Elizabeth Taylor's Passion that she hands over to him.
Speaking of extended perfume commercials, this movie, I mean, I love Liv Tyler, but whenever they cut to her, it is like something out of...
Everything's in slow motion.
Everything is in slow motion.
Yeah.
Shot like a Dior ad.
She is selling us some Egoist. Yeah.
Evan Starr. Available at Macy's everywhere.
Fine retailers.
Yeah, and just like her scenes with Hugo Weaving of just like, I mean, this is when
she's just fainting the entire movie. All she does is faint,
dropping
she just
books
faints in every scene. She just like,
and these are the scenes that if you were to just casually walk into the living room when your significant other is into these movies, let's say that you're not into them, and you see a scene like this, and you're just like, what the fuck is going on in this movie?
When she, at some point, she's riding on her horse with Brit from the two guys from New Zealand,
not Flight of the Navigator,
Flight of the Conchords.
Flight of the Conchords.
She's with Brit, and she has this vision of her future son with Aragorn, and she's like, I can't actually go to this boat that is going to take me off into the sunset. I'm going home. And Brit is like, my lady, what are you doing? And she's like, peace out.
That's when she grabs her lipstick
I'm
and
leaving.
she's sending herself home.
Yes. She goes back. She makes it to Rivendell, gets off her horse, and as she like marches herself up to Elrond, Hugo Weaving, should have been David Bowie.
Oh yeah, it should have been. I love me some Hugo Weaving. We stand Queen. We stand Priscilla, but it should have been David Bowie.
Should have been David Bowie.
Yeah.
She tosses off her robes like she's Aretha Franklin at the Kennedy Center Honors with that fur coat. Just like, I don't need this. I'm dropping this. Still holding on to her purse on stage. And walks her way up. And she's just like, what in the hell is going on this day?
Meanwhile, like, what is her dad doing all day? Just like,
know.
is there anybody with him?
No, he left all the elves. He told them to leave. The men are going to war. This place is like on fire, and we are done.
Yeah.
Go. And I think he's just
going
there,
down with the ship.
Yeah, to either go down with the ship or just to like give one last little bit of help. I don't know. Just as long as the elves are still in Middle Earth, I think the men had a fighting chance. So he's like, I'm just going to stick around.
Tell me what you have seen.
Arwen,
You have the gift of foresight. What did you see?
I looked into your future and I saw death.
There is also life. You saw there was a child. You saw my son.
That future is almost gone.
But it is not lost.
Nothing is certain.
Some things are certain. If I leave him now, I will regret it forever. It is time.
So she comes back and is just like, no, we can't like leave them to like die. We've got to help.
Does she talk about her vision that she had?
Yes. Yeah. And
All stuff that they made up for the movie.
kind
I don't
of.
think this is in the book.
Yeah. Even in the appendices, there's not really all this much stuff going on.
I mean, I feel like Arwen gets like a paragraph in Fellowship.
But in the appendices, there's like a good chapter length
Yeah.
of their story. And is it in this movie where he's like, I've seen your future and you get old. That's it.
Or no, she stays the same age and he gets old.
Well, no, the only way she can stay
Yeah.
is if she forsakens her elvishness and essentially becomes human. But the other thing is that Aragorn is A, half elf, or like a quarter elf or something, and B, he's of the Dunedain, so he lives a very long time.
And that is the heir of Isildur.
Yes.
Right.
And it is established in the extended edition of The Two Towers that Aragorn is 80 years old.
Looks great.
Looks great. Aragorn don't crack. And so I assume that he probably lives to be, 150? And she I think the vision was that, like, you're going to outlive him. Like, he's just going to get old and die, and you're just going to be the same.
Much like Bella and Edward when she has the dream of her grandmother.
There you go.
And I think that's in New Moon.
Right. See, the similarities?
Yep.
Endless. So she comes back and she convinces Elrond to reforge the sword, which is a departure from the books, because in the books, Aragorn carries around the broken sword.
Oh, with him, that's right.
Carries it around the whole time. It's even in the Ralph Bakshi animated version. The sword that Aragorn uses, the tip is broken off. Can't really see it that much. We haven't even talked about the Bakshi
Oh my
animated
God.
version. That is like, who needs acid.
I only recommend that movie to people that I know are real big fans of the book.
Yeah.
Just get the... Just to be fully rounded in all of the adaptations.
Yeah. Or if you're just like a big fan of
adult animation from the 70s.
Yeah. And experimental film, that kind of stuff. Worth the watch in that case. And if you're both, hey, go find it. It's fun. It's
all the rotoscope
wacky.
is really cool in it.
Yeah, craziness. But, we reforged the sword. There's some stuff in this movie with, like, the ghost pirates.
Yeah. It's one of those things that they could have cut it, but I'm glad that it's in.
Yeah.
It's a fun scene.
Yeah, it's crazy.
2003 was a big movie for
ghost pirates.
Was a big year for ghost pirates. I'm glad that they got to join in on the party.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there's ghost pirates. There's actual pirates. Like Peter Jackson's big cameo in this movie. He's like a weird like biker pirate on this like ship that gets shot with an arrow.
I mean, it's all very. What's the medieval times like competitor in Buena Park? There's like a pirate adventure.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it's just called Pirate Adventure.
Yep.
Yeah, very that. Yeah, the big action sequences are crazy. There's like insane shit going on, and like things that like maybe were going on at the same time in movies, but these movies just took so long to make that I think they're just like, fuck it, we'll just leave it in, because they do the thing with the catapults and the camera following the big piece of rock coming from the catapult, like in Pearl Harbor.
Oh, sure.
They do it with the bomb in Pearl Harbor. They do it with the catapults in this movie. And I think they were just like, who cares? We're leaving it in. We were planning that shot for
Nobody
like
remembers
3 years,
Pearl Harbor.
and who cares about Pearl Harbor?
I know that pirates just gooped us in summer of 2003, but we're still keeping in our pirates, and we'll make them try to look as different as possible.
Yeah, I think the thing in this movie is that they used makeup appliances and like blended and used visual effects to like, sometimes it's makeup, sometimes it's just a skeleton face, and in Pirates of the Caribbean it's like all CGI. But after the scary shit with the spider, like Frodo gets captured, Sam comes back to rescue him because he found
I love the catty orcs.
Breadcrumbs. Yes.
I love the catty orcs that find them.
Anytime the orcs just talk, they're always just bitches. They're always just real bitchy. They probably all just have skin problems, very itchy.
Low self-esteem. They like to take it out on others.
The clothes can't be comfortable. I mean, the amount of like buckles and like metal just like grinding into your body, They've got like piercings all over their faces. It just can't be an uncomfortable life to be an orc in Peter Jackson's Middle Earth. So yeah, they're just not having a good time, and they are very, very bitchy with each other about after Frodo gets stung by the spider and Sam thinks he's dead. They're like, oh, no, he's alive. We're going to go and bring him back, and we're going to eat him ourselves. Love that. And Sam goes to rescue him in the tower. Like Rapunzel.
Yeah.
I always remember when Sam goes to rescue Frodo. In the movie, Frodo is just wearing his pants. They took his shirt off. Because underneath they found that he had his little diamond, his like bedazzled shirt.
Yeah.
That Bilbo gave him. So they're like, oh, we've got a bedazzled shirt.
Isn't it mithril?
It's a mithril.
Yep.
Yes, it's a mithril.
See, I know.
Chainmail shirt.
And Sting is the sword that lights up whenever an orc is near.
Yes.
Is it called Sting?
It is called Sting.
Yep.
Yes.
And that is from The Hobbit.
Bilbo named it Sting. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. The Bilbo and the dwarves stumbled upon the giants, not giants, trolls. They stumbled upon the trolls' cave.
Bilbo's trolls.
Where they lived, yes. And in the cave, they had some booty. They had some riches. And they had a bunch of elf-made weapons. And the thing is, any sword that was forged by the elves will glow blue when there are orcs around.
Does it happen in any of the movies with other elves?
No, they just do it. Do it with Sting, because they think it would just be too much exposition. But yeah, they found it there, and then there was Bilbo's sword for all of his exploits in The Hobbit, and then finally he gives it to Frodo with the Mithril shirt. And in this scene, when he gets rescued by Sam, he's shirtless. And he says, like, oh, we got to find some clothes for you. You can't be traipsing around Mordor and not but your skin. Not but your skin. But in the book, Frodo's butt-ass naked. Should have been in the movie.
Yeah. I was reading...
Little Elijah.
I was reading that there is a cut scene...
Where they make out?
Look in my notes. Boyd and Monahan, who played Merry and Pippin...
Make out.
They said that there was an almost shot scene where...
Skinny dipping?
Merry and Pippin find themselves naked after falling from Treebeard and losing all their clothes.
Why would they lose all their clothes out of falling out of
Apparently,
Treebeard?
there was a scene that they were going to shoot where they were going to be naked, and they did not film it.
I don't understand how they lost their clothes.
I mean,
I wouldn't have minded.
I guess we'll never know.
I wouldn't have minded. Mm-hmm. Billy Boyd is kind of cute, too.
I mean, those characters just feel like they're in a domestic partnership from the get-go. Of that, like, these two are a package deal.
Yeah.
It's like our straight friends hanging out with us. Of that, like, if you get one, you get the other one.
Probably. Yeah. I love that. You know what I do absolutely love about those two is that Billy Boyd and Don Monahan are still very good friends today. They have a podcast that they do.
Oh, I'd love that.
Today. It's called The Friendship Onion. Mm-hmm. It's funny. It's just them, talking, being
just
friends.
Like chatting, like you're listening to a telephone conversation.
They're all over each other's socials, even before the podcast. The podcast has been around for about a year. But even before that, they were just all over each other's socials. They're just really good friends. And they've remained friends all this time. It's just been really, really tight. And I love it. I love just seeing them like still talk and hang out and everything. But yeah, I would have very much enjoyed a pillow fight. I mean, we kind of get a pillow fight at the end of this movie. Mm-hmm. But something like that. More nudity from the boys is what I'm saying.
Agreed.
Is what I'm saying. But
I mean, I also kind of want to see the unofficial gay porn of both Gimli and
Legolas
and Legolas, because I mean they have a very like trying to think, they have a very like Spencer Tracy, like Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn, like back and forth about them.
Does that make Legolas Katharine Hepburn?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I could see that. Yeah, they have a kind of opposites attract.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing going on.
I definitely want to see like their Odd Couple Middle Earth sitcom where they have to become roommates.
Sure. Yeah. I like it. And I think dwarfs live for a long time too.
Yeah.
So I mean, they could hang out for a couple hundred years, just like living in an apartment together. That'd be great. I'd love to see it. There's some really fun stuff when Frodo and Sam are like in hiding, like traveling through Mordor, like getting away from all the like grumbly orcs.
Those scenes of like when you actually see like Mount Doom,
how far away it is,
I'm just like, it still looks really fucking far.
So far.
It's like that's going to be a really long walk. Yeah. And I know that this is towards the end of the movie.
Yeah. And the thing is, I mean, we live in the foothills. As you get higher and higher, if you go straight up lake, it's literally uphill the whole way. Mm-hmm. The closer you get to the foothills, you are literally going uphill.
I mean, what is that, like Mount Washington?
Yeah.
I mean, that would be us trying to get to the the lightning rod thing on the top of Mount Washington.
No, never. And there are streets that will take us there, and I still won't do it.
I always think of the Misty Mountains when
there's clouds.
Yeah. I always think of the Misty Mountains.
Yeah, we do live in a beautiful foothill area of the city, and the mountains are right behind us. Yeah, I mean, they've been walking this entire time. They've been walking for a year.
Yeah,
it's like, what are you gonna do?
And I feel like the timeline in the movie is shorter than the books. Because the books are set, I mean, decades upon decades.
Yeah.
If you were to actually read the timeline of those books.
I think once they leave,
Sure,
no, you're
once
right.
once they leave the Shire, and I feel like they stay in Rivendell for like a couple months.
They do. They stay in Rivendell for a couple of months. They stay with Goldberry for weeks.
Yeah.
Tom Bombadil and Goldberry, they stay there for weeks. They stay in Rivendell.
I mean,
for
no
months.
urgency to actually get this shit done.
No. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I think they stay with Farmer Maggot for like 3 nights. They have a long weekend over there before they leave with Merry and Pippin. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. So it's like to get, to walk all the way across Mordor to get to the volcano, and they have to hide from the flaming vag eyeball.
The flaming vagina.
Prison spotlight.
Yep. Chasing them Dr. Evil style.
The prison spotlight looks a little funny now.
Yeah.
When you watch it, you're like, really?
It's a little too literal. I understand why they made those artistic choices, though.
Yeah. They left something like that out of The Hobbit because Smaug had something similar, like with his eyes in the books. Smaug has this way of like zeroing in with his eyes, and they kind of tried to do it in the animated thing, and it looks like a prison spotlight. It's weird. Yeah, the last few scenes though, like we're getting to when they're like climbing this mountain and they're like professing their love for each other. And
so listeners, when Pete and I got married back in 2016, Pete read a excerpt from Return of the King.
I did.
Do you remember what it was, Pete?
I do. Of course I remember what it was. Yeah, it's just I think we've mentioned it. I don't have the book here with me. It's in the other room, so I'm not going to go pick it up. But yeah, it's and the thing is, I like in the middle of the ceremony, I whip out this book. Ray hands me my huge and it's my copy of. It's all 3 books. It's the omnibus, and it's from the movies, so it has like the picture on it and everything, and I have the bookmark in there. And yeah, it's Sam, and he
read me an excerpt
Mordor
of Sam, like pretty much professing his love to Frodo.
Yeah, just saying that I know I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you, and so we're going to be done with this. I'm going to pick you up, and I'm going to carry you along. And
when the Annie Lennox theme swells in the movie,
yeah,
it's just like not a dry eye in the house.
Yeah, totally. And there's kind of a couple scenes like that, where he's just like, okay, first he picks up Frodo and he puts him on his back and he starts like walking up the hill, and then there's another scene where he's just like, oh, it's right before that where he's like, oh, do you remember like the sky and beauty in the world and all that. And
it's really when they start to realize, I mean, both of them, they've always been thinking it throughout this whole journey.
Yeah.
It's when they really start to tell each other, we're probably not fucking making it.
Yeah.
We're not probably going to make it down this fucking hill.
Yeah.
On our way back.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
This could very well be our last moments with each other.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And, yeah, because all throughout, like, Sam's been saying stuff about, like, for the way home, and, like, I'm bringing back, like...
We have to save some Labyrinth's bread for the trip back.
Yeah. And all that, and water, and they're, like, in their little, canteens and all that good stuff. But, yeah, at this point, they're just like, we're not going back. Mm-hmm. All the shit with Gollum, when they finally do find... like the gate to get in, is insane.
Bites off his finger.
The amount of rocks that Gollum has had thrown at his head at this point, it's like crazy.
Definitely has some brain damage.
Yeah, and they are all taking it pretty good. They're all like getting thrown around in these rocks. But he bites off Frodo's invisible finger. Mm-hmm. Ugh, gross.
Oh, that's right. He has the ring on at this point. And he's like running around.
Yeah. He jumps on Frodo's back as he's invisible, and he's like, crazy shit. But Gollum finally goes down like Arnold Schwarzenegger at the end of T2.
Yeah.
In the liquid hot magma.
I'm doing the...
Not quite giving the thumbs up.
I'm doing like the thumbs up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And but it's that thing where the ring corrupts, and it corrupts the people that hold it.
I remember reading this chapter and just being like, there's still like over 300 pages left of this damn book. Now, I don't remember how the book is structured because they always group all of
they group them
Frodo
together.
and Sam stuff together, and then all of the shit with Aragorn and
Legolas and Gimli.
And Gimli. Which one is last? Is it?
I don't remember.
I want to say
remember how
that
to do it.
the Sam and Frodo stuff is first.
It can't be because we get the gag with the mouth of Sauron coming out saying, like, I've got his shirt.
Okay.
He's dead.
Yeah.
And here's the proof. Mm-hmm. And he throws the mithril shirt.
Maybe they add
and
in.
just like, no.
They must add it in later.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they go back and forth.
They must. Yeah,
they go back and forth. Yeah.
Maybe I'm just thinking of Two Towers.
Yeah. I think they go back and forth in Return of the King, I think. Listeners, don't kill us. It's been a while. Since either one of us have read these books.
Whenever I read these books, I usually make it to like I read all of Fellowship and then I begin Two Towers and I don't finish
just
it.
Crap out.
Here's the thing also about being a young reader that I would have the gumption to finish all of those fucking books. I feel like now, I don't know if I was just picking them up if I could make it all the way through to the end.
Yeah.
I might just turn on the DVD.
Yeah. It'd have to be like a really strong like New Year's resolution. Like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to reward myself with like a shamrock shake at the end of it.
Yeah. And I read all of the Game of Thrones books too.
You did,
all of them.
You did.
And joke's on me because it wasn't even remotely like it towards the end of that show.
Yeah. Joke's on you. Dum. Well, maybe we'll get a resolution for Game of Thrones at some point. He's not dead yet. Don't count him out.
They just announced a release date for the House of the Dragon.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's going to be August.
Oh, I'm sure. This August?
I mean, on HBO?
Oh, the show.
That shit's already shot.
The show. I thought you meant the next book. I'm like, that's a lie.
Oh, no. We've moved on.
Yeah, we've moved on. It's not happening. After they do finally destroy the ring, they're just like, ugh, it's over. I can't believe it's over. And they like run out, and they're literally on a rock surrounded by rivers of liquid hot magma.
Dante's Peak style.
Yeah. There's like, okay, this really is the end.
This is really the end.
Yeah.
We got to get out some feelings.
Yeah. And Sam has his like, if I ever was to take a wife. If I ever was to take a wife. I know that's not the line.
We're just going to have to pull that entire clip right now.
Yeah. It would have been her.
I can see the Shire. The Brandywine River. Back in. Gandalf's fireworks. The lights. The party tree. Rosie Cobb dancing. She had ribbons in her hair. If ever I was to marry someone, it would have been her. It would have been her. I'm glad to be with you, Samwise Gamgee. Here at the end of all things.
But she's not around.
It's such a
so
sweet scene.
It really is. It really is.
I think it works either way. Great friends, lovers, works either way.
Of course. Yes. But, we like to project. We like to project. Analogies, whatever.
And, of course, the Eagles come and save them because we got to get them off this, like, mountain somehow.
I mean, and it's not even like a Deus Ex Machina from the movie.
They did him a solid. They did him a solid back in The Hobbit.
Yeah. that's a whole other thing. It's like, well, why didn't the Eagles just help them the whole time? And,
Because the Eagles
It is
are
what it
just
is.
testy. They don't want.
They're not Middle Earth taxis.
They're not taxis.
They're not here to just
figure your own shit out.
yeah.
We'll come and swoop them and get them at the very end.
And they're crabby. The Eagles talk in the books.
Yeah, they do talk.
They talk to
Do they not
Gandalf.
talk in the Hobbit live action movies? Okay, I don't remember.
No, I don't think they do. I think they talk in the animated movie, but yeah, not in the live action. And they don't talk in this. And so, but it is interesting, like
Sure.
Gandalf just having these conversations with the Eagles. But I love that that's the kind of like fantasy it was.
Yeah, like talking to eagles.
And the wizards,
So cool.
The wizards are very kind of cryptic in what their magic can
Yes,
do.
and they do a good job in the movies, especially in Fellowship.
Yeah.
Of we're just not going to have them do anything.
Yeah.
Like there are going to some kind of be rules to
Yeah.
all of this.
My brother had this theory that like Gandalf's magic had a lot to do with light. Every time Gandalf used his magic, there was light involved, or like sunshine or starlight or something to do with light. So it wasn't like physical like manifestations. It was like light.
He goes from Gandalf the Gray to
Gandalf the White.
Gandalf the White.
And he's got the crystal that he puts in his staff that like lights their way, and even with the trolls, he like made a big flash of light to distract them and look over, and then it's like then the sun is rising, and so he used a lot of like light and shadow to like to use his magic.
And what about Saruman?
Saruman's magic is a little more tricky. He's like the leader of the Order of the Wizards, so he has a little bit more magic. But they never really explicitly, state what the extent of his powers are. He doesn't have like lightning coming out of his hands like Christopher Lee does in Star Wars.
Yeah. No force lightning.
Yeah, no force lightning for these guys. But yeah, love the design of Gandalf in these movies. So fucking cool. Even Gandalf the Grey, the White, either one, they both look awesome. Love it.
Powerful elder gay.
Yes.
Teaching the children.
That was another thing, watching this and just kind of being at that age, just like, okay, this is this is Ian McKellen, and Ian McKellen is like an gay actor now, and
he
he's
had
like
just
leading
done.
this pack of dudes,
That's what's kind of interesting about actors of that generation, like Judi Dench. I mean, maybe Helen Mirren's a little younger than Judi Dench, but also her just sort of getting this big following.
Yeah.
I mean, probably in her 60s.
Yeah.
And also Ian McKellen didn't get... I mean, I think that a movie like Apt Pupil, and I mean, I hate to say his name, but working with Bryan Singer, did kind of make him mainstream for audiences.
Oh, totally. Yeah. X-Men
And
really just put him on
I
the
think
map.
that he also did like X-Men and Lord of the Rings back to back.
Yeah.
And like older man was just completely game for it.
Yeah.
That didn't feel the need to slow down. Like, he just liked the adventure of going to New Zealand to make these crazy movies.
Yeah. And it's like, I think having a more established actor kind of might have taken you out a little bit more. Probably not that Ian McKellen's not established, but I'm saying I don't want to see Sean Connery.
You don't want to see Sean Connery.
Yeah.
And you're very adamant that Sean Connery was probably
I don't think it was
not
Gandalf.
being considered for Gandalf.
No, I don't think it was Gandalf. I think it was probably Theoden. Mm-hmm. I don't think it was Gandalf.
Captain from Titanic.
Captain Smith. Yes.
And also, I think it just helps to have a classically trained actor to do a role like Gandalf.
Yeah.
Very theatrical role.
Yeah.
That kind of lends it to that character quite
Christopher
well.
Lee, him working with so good.
Yeah, I mean,
These
also
two queens. I mean, Christopher Lee's not gay. But
I mean,
these
we've
two
talked about.
queens,
I think it
love
was on our Sleepy Hollow episode of Billy that directors like Tim Burton just grew up with a guy like Christopher Lee watching the Hammer horror movies, and just Christopher Lee was probably always the only guy on the casting list for Saruman for Peter Jackson.
Yeah.
Like it was there was probably no other options.
Yeah. Yeah. We didn't even talk about the deleted scene or in the extended edition of Gandalf and Saruman.
Can't believe they cut it.
Just having their like library is open. Just like reading is
Their
fundamental.
reading challenge.
Yeah, reading challenge.
Like Merry and Pippin like hand them like
their little glasses.
hand them their little glasses.
Yeah. Oh, you want to talk about reading? Yeah. Mopping and stealing. Yeah. And Worm Tongue is up there. I mean,
Brad Dourif.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about, like, character, like, just all the shit that is stolen from this. Like, really, Wormtail? Come on.
Sure.
Come on, Joe.
We're looking at you.
Do better than that.
Joe Rowling.
Do better than Wormtail. Come on. Come on.
I hope that have we passed our point with Ian McKellen that he can't win an Oscar. I feel like the moment's kind of like passed, and it's such a bummer.
Oh no. He could still be in something.
I mean, Christopher Plummer did not win his until his 80s.
Yeah.
So
should Ian McKellen have played that role? Maybe. An actual gay man?
Yeah.
Maybe. But,
I mean, I feel like Ian was truly robbed for the Oscar for Fellowship. I mean, should have won for James Whale in Gods and Monsters.
Yeah.
He should have 2.
Yeah. Yeah. True that. Yeah. Once everything goes down, after, Frodo gets his finger bit off, they get saved by, the eagles. He wakes up in the hospital bed and they have a pillow fight with, Merry and Pippin.
It just turns into like the sleepover scene from Grease.
Yes. We have all that. We have his he's reintroduced to Sam again.
I mean, I remember this scene in particular with a lot of the guys I went to high school with. A lot of That's So Gay jokes.
Yeah.
With this scene in particular.
Well, the way Sam walks in the room and he's just like, oh. He just has like palpitations, more of the vapors. Yeah, it's a lot of, it's very soap opera-y. Everything's in slow motion. The last 30 minutes of this movie are in complete slow motion.
Yeah.
Shot like a music video. And yeah, I could definitely see that. I could definitely see just guys being like, what the shit is this? Like gay ass like scene. Yeah, they have their little like reunion. Everybody's like making love on the bed. Then after like Aragorn gets crowned like King of the North or whatever, then Frodo goes through like his emo phase.
Yeah.
And that's when he's just like writing poetry and just like writing on his Converse and
probably
Sharpie.
Listening to like Elliott Smith.
Yeah.
Elliott Smith and The Cure.
Yeah. And just like painting his fingernails black and just like can't deal with life back in the Shire anymore. It's like so boring now that he's seen like the ends of the earth. And he decides to go with Bilbo off into like the Netherworld.
Yeah. Okay. So explain.
We were having a conversation about
what exactly this is, because I mean, I have read these books, I've seen these movies, and I still can't quite wrap my mind around it. So, are they pretty much just going to heaven?
Yeah, essentially.
They're going to the afterlife.
Yeah. It's
what's
the
like
elven afterlife.
What's like the Viking word for that?
Valhalla.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It is called the Undying Lands, Valinor.
And you see them,
land of the Valar.
And you see them trekking there in like Fellowship, right?
Yes, that's where all the elves are going.
Like there's a mass exodus.
Anytime they're just walking through the forest in these movies, they're going to these ships to go to Valinor, to the Blessed Realms. Yeah, it's the Undying Lands. And the thing is, like in Tolkien's like literal Middle Earth, it's a island that you can go to, but it's also like mystical Valhalla heaven.
And you can't come back.
No, I don't believe you can come back. Yeah, there's like the shadowy seas that prevent people from crossing into it.
Yeah, I remember study. Now,
Yeah.
do you see it on the map that's included with the book?
No,
Okay.
I don't believe so, because it's past. Yeah. It's like not for us. It's like supposedly those maps are there, like because Tolkien has this whole thing about how these are actual maps.
I used to love looking at the maps.
Oh, I love. Yeah, I do too. I still do. But yeah, similar to Asgard, similar to Valhalla, Elysium.
Yeah,
all of that stuff. Not quite Avalon, but that kind of thing. At any rate, they're leaving and not coming back. And we get another final farewell. And Frodo kisses Sam on the forehead.
Should have been the lips.
Should have been the mouth. Lots of crying, But it's that thing of that, it's like this male, platonic love for their friends and their friendship and what they've been through and all that. And that just very much mirrors, what they've been to war and back and all that. So, but yeah, when you watch it, when you're like a young gay child, you're just like, oh, these boys, all these boys hugging, kissing, and crying. I love it, but it's so sad. But yeah, I mean, we love these movies for lots of reasons, but I think the story is just something that, it's just a classic story. It's good versus evil.
Yeah,
it's a good journey. They're good war movies, but they're good fantasy. There's kind of something in it for everybody. Even little gay kids, you don't like war movies.
Yeah, you
didn't like war movies. You weren't watching I don't know.
Never really cared for Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah,
give me Shakespeare in Love.
Yeah. But you can watch these.
Yeah,
and it's
and there's something very moving about how sincere and loving. I mean, pretty much all of the men are in this movie.
Yeah.
That there's a way that when Viggo Mortensen delivers his lines to the Fellowship in the first movie, that I don't know. It's you just don't really see that a lot in movies.
Yeah.
Or very tender men.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Oh, and speaking of tender relationships between men, I mean, we have to talk about Boromir and Aragorn. And their big goodbye.
Yeah.
So good.
Very good. Yeah, really
better
really
than
well
it is.
done.
Better than it's written in the book, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think for dramatic purposes, a lot of the scenes in the book, if you go back and read the passages in the book, they're a little bit more, I don't know, not dry, but just kind of less there in the dialogue. And in the movies, they're just a little bit more, they're just so much more cinematic. So they're just but again, another kiss on the forehead.
Yep.
But yeah, Aragorn and Boromir have this antagonistic relationship the whole time. They have a really good, goodbye send-off scene together. Legolas and Gimli, you see their relationship grow, even though they're very opposites. They don't like each other at first. So yeah, there's just a lot there for us as as young kids, young gay kids, that we're just okay, I could watch this multiple times. There's enough wigs in here for me to latch on to.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, can't clock a lace front on Orlando.
Yeah, the wig work.
I like that we are so familiar with these movies and revisiting them. Is that you can tell the days on set where they did not, they didn't check Orlando for the contacts.
Yeah,
you don't see his beautiful blue eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. You're oh, he's got brown eyes in this scene. Yeah, sometimes they just forgot, which is crazy. But I mean, they had a lot.
There's a lot going on.
A lot going on making these movies. That's the last thing on their minds. But yeah. So I mean, these movies are on TBS, TNT.
Oh yeah,
all the
every week. There's a marathon of all of these movies on TNT
all the time. I'm sure and even we were saying, Instagram and Twitter didn't exist when these movies first came out, but I mean, they have still been memed to death. Everybody, some of the earliest shit, viral internet stuff, was potatoes.
The Hobbits are going to
Isengard. Yeah,
I really I think that it was. They did a lot of internet material for the making of the Hobbit movies in Orlando. Orlando did that scene.
The Hobbits, the Hobbits, the Hobbits, the Hobbits, the Hobbits, the Hobbits. To Isengard! To Isengard! To Isengard!
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So they've just kind of become pop culture in this way that, like, they're in, like, sizzle reels of, like, classic movies.
Yeah. I mean, they made it in the AFI Top 100.
Yeah.
Like, it made it to the... I think Fellowship cracked the 100 of, like, the greatest American movies made of all time. And I mentioned it earlier that we're in this age of superhero and Marvel.
Yeah.
And what's great about something like Lord of the Rings is that it does have an ending.
Yeah.
And we're not used to endings now with entertainment.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, we don't like it.
Yeah.
Reboot that shit.
Yeah. Start
And
it
oh,
over.
guess what? They're doing a Lord of the Rings TV show.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'll watch.
Of course we'll watch it. And I believe the TV show is set in the age of men. Is it sort of like like Isildur and all that business?
It's the first age. Yeah, I believe it's the first age of Middle Earth.
Do you think there'll be any gay characters in this new show?
I think they'll have to address it with the elves.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll have to address it with any race that doesn't age or grow old.
Mm-hmm. Do they have life partners?
Why would they just be like...
Yeah. I mean, that's what's kind of fun about re-examining this material now in, like, a long form, is that you can expand stuff like that.
Yeah.
And also, like I mentioned at the top of the show, these movies are very white. And maybe if you tried to colorblind cast some of these roles, it would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we'll see where they go with that. But, yeah, I mean, yeah, Amazon, right?
Amazon, yeah. They've sunk a lot of money into it.
Yeah, but it's taken a long time to get to the screen.
Yeah, I feel like we've been reading about it for years now.
Yes, absolutely. But it's finally coming. So, but yeah, that should all be really fun. But yeah, I mean, these movies have just become part of culture. Everybody's familiar with it. But if you haven't watched Return of the King in a while,
oh yeah, revisit these movies if it's
check
been
it
a
out.
hot second.
Yeah.
I mean, I am browsing the Noble collection right now, Pete. I mean, I know that Christmas is quite a ways away, but I mean, I might have the Ring of Aragorn. I really want the Elven brooch.
The Elven brooch.
The Elven
leaf.
brooch is cool.
Yeah,
the leaf that the orc steps on and the two towers.
But they don't have Thranduil's crown from The
think
Hobbit.
so. No,
Lame.
they should though.
They should.
I feel like when I was picking out my wedding ring, I specifically picked out one that looked like the ring.
Yeah.
It has that
power.
that sort of like smooth finish to it.
Mm-hmm. Like
I mean, there's a beautiful $495 chess set.
I mean, that
you
chess
really
set is
want
ridiculous.
the Sting letter opener.
I do. I would love the Sting letter opener.
Oh my gosh, the battle of the wizards.
Oh my goodness! It's just like a resin
It's
figurines.
It's like a giant sculpture.
Oh man, listeners, our wish list for the Noble collection.
Yep.
Feel free to check it out. We'll give you our
address.
Oh man, this was a lot of fun.
This was a lot of fun.
Talking about
I'm glad
Lord of
that
the Rings.
I saved this episode for just us because I do have friends that I can just call and just I have a friend Robin that knows a lot about the books too, and Robin's really good at just sort of everything that's off the page. That is not in there.
Yeah,
like she knows all of the appendices.
Yeah, I used to know that stuff a little bit more. I've kind of lost a little bit of my...
I think it's really fascinating when you look at
knowledge.
all of the old stuff and, like, what exactly are these wizards?
Yeah.
Too? It's just like, is Galadriel sort of a contemporary of someone like Gandalf? Is she that old?
She's older.
She's
no,
older.
She can't be older. I don't know. Yeah.
And also just these Middle-earth titans like Barlog.
The Balrog, the Maiar, all that stuff. Very interesting. But, I mean, their college courses, their dissertations, thesis, essays, YouTube, deep dives that go into all this stuff. That was the very first article I ever read on Wikipedia was about Lord of the Rings elves.
Okay.
I was just doing
Sure.
a search on like Lord of the Ring elves and trying to find as much information as I could about them. And that was the very first time I ever went to Wikipedia. And I was like, what is this site? This is cool. It has every. Oh, I really do have everything. And I never looked back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before then, I was just going to like Lord of the Rings fan sites.
Yeah.
To find out information. But yeah, it's all there now. But yeah, there's so much information. It's like it's all out there, but you know, it's hard to come by.
Frodo and Sam, iconic movie couple.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Am I the Frodo of my life? I don't know. Maybe I'm more of the Sam. Because I do like cooking sausages.
Sure.
for
I
breakfast.
mean, I guess in our relationship, I would probably be the Frodo. I would probably be the one to elect to walk that ring all the way to like. I mean, how far do you think like Mount Doom is from where we live? Like
San Francisco.
I don't know.
Fucking far. Yeah. And that's another thing. You can look online and find out how long distance wise it is, like steps wise. We could probably ask Siri how long that walk is from the Shire to Mount Doom and back. There's all somebody's mapped it out. Somebody's done it. Somebody's done the legwork. It's all there. We'll let you do that, listeners. But it's it's probably just about time to wrap it up and bid the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I think so. Fun episode.
But yeah, I'm glad that we did it kind of like our Star Trek episode, where
Kind of like-
we focused on one thing but talked about the whole franchise almost.
kind of the gay fandom
Yeah.
of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. And yeah, this is a Return of the King episode, but yeah, much like our Star Trek episode, we just kind of like brought in everything that we felt like was pertinent to our queer Lord of the Rings interpretation. But yeah, that was so much fun. No guest to say goodbye to, but we'll have one soon. And until then, I think it is just about that time.
For Patreon shout-outs?
Patreon shout-outs. Yes, indeed. All right. We would like to give a great big shout-out and hello to Melanie, Christopher, Russ, Esperanza, Nicole, Susan, JJ, Leighton, Shelby, Michael, Charlie, Muffy, Paul, Jamie, Drew, Jimmy, Genevieve, Dawn, Josh, Emily, Millie, Aaron, Melinda, Jim, Jessica, Nick and Shannon, Christine, and Rufino. Thank you so much for contributing, everybody. Head over to patreon.com/movies that made us gay. Check out all the fun tiers for some awesome stuff. What was the last commentary we did? Batman 89?
Batman 89. We need to do a new one.
Yes,
I
we
want
should
to do
do
Under the
one.
Tuscan Sun. I hope it's still streaming.
Ooh, that'll be a good commentary to do. And some fun
Another
new
movie
movies.
from 03.
Yes. Some fun new movies have just been added to Netflix, so we'll check on that. If you guys have any suggestions, patrons, if you have any suggestions for commentary tracks, let us know.
Yeah.
You guys are contributing, so we're making them for you. So let us know what you want to hear, and we'll do a commentary for that. But yeah, head over to patreon.com. Check it out. We'd also love for you to rate and review the show.
Give us 5 stars.
Give us 5 stars and write us a review.
It
It
means a lot.
Review. Yes, I'm going to read a
Helps
review on
with
the show.
iTunes tracking.
Helps the show get out, more people to see it. We love it. We just like having as many reviews as possible. So give us a good review. Give us 5 stars. Give us 5 stars on Spotify and on Apple.
It's been a while since we've had a review, too.
That's what I'm saying.
We can read on the air.
Yes, indeed. And give us a follow on all the social media stuff. We're on just about everything. We are on Instagram and Facebook at Movies That Made Us Gay, and on Twitter we are at
MTMUG Pod.
Yes, indeed. You can follow us, our personal stuff. My name is Pete. I am at Peter Lasagna on Instagram and Twitter.
Scott Youngballer on Instagram, and follow my letterbox.
Yes, indeed. Follow all that good stuff. Well, until next week, everybody, we bid you adieu. Have a great evening. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. Bye.
To Isengard! To Isengard! To Isengard!